10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Drag racing fans, once again, the Competition Plus Power Hour is live, coming to you on the CompetitionPlus.com platforms. You be sure to subscribe to the CompetitionPlus.com YouTube channel. That's Competition Plus TV. And always swing by CompetitionPlus.com, the place where you can believe what you read on the internet, and that oftentimes really, truly does have the breaking news, the scoop, and the inside stories in the world of drag racing, from door slammers to nitro and everything in between. Good to have you watching tonight. Hit that like button for us. Hit the share button as well, and tell those other drag racing fans you know that they need to be watching the Competition Plus Power Hour. I'm going to bring on my co-host, Slammin' Sam. And man, a lot of drag racing happened this weekend, though the NHRA Camping World Tour was not racing, getting ready for what's upcoming there in Chi-Town.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Cletus had his big thing down there, so that was nice to see. A lot of local tracks, smaller tracks, are starting to open up, and I mean, getting into the full swing of things. Right, temperatures are starting to get warmer. People are starting to get outside. People, are still. Some people are still, coming out of the post-pandemic life. So getting back to what really is the norm, what we're used to in drag racing and motorsports completely. So it's nice to see that, everyone's news feeds and everything is going back racing, getting back, into the groove of things. So that it's really nice to see. And it's always great to be able to talk about drag racing.
That it is, man. Yes, a lot of events go on. We're certainly stepping closer and closer to normal. Later on tonight, we're going to actually have the division director of the North Central Division for NHRA, Lucas Oil, Indianapolis Raceway Park. They held that Cletus and Cars event, and the alcohol burners, which in Dragster they burn nitro too, they got to showcase themselves before a stellar crowd that, for the most part, yes, came for Cletus and Cars and the burnouts and the Indy 800, the Freedom 800, those type of things. But I got the report that many people were simply wowed to see something go 270, 280 miles per hour, and they encountered for the first time drag racing like that.
Yeah, and I mean, knowing and being able to talk to Cletus, he's always up to something. I remember the first year that I met him down at PRI, he had the scooter race kind of around downtown Indy. And I honestly think that's why you can't ride the scooters close to the monuments and in certain areas, because there were so many of us. He's always been innovative in what he does. And he's always trying to, create something else. He's doing a phenomenal job with, all his freedom races and different things, having the backing and the sponsorship and if you go and look at any of his social media platforms, what he's got and what he's built, it's really, proven. And to have the likes of a guy like Tony Stewart, being able to come out and be a representative for NHRA and for the alcohol classes and everything like that, and everything that Tony brings to the table, him being there obviously drew people. People are going to come to see the name. People are going to come to see Cletus. But it opened an eye to not only what Cletus is doing and the freedom races, but he opened an eye to NHRA and Camping World Racing too. So, the mix and the commingle of racing and motorsports combined is always going to be good. Opening to another customer base is something that you can't deny.
For sure. And I think that is something that when we talk to William Tharp later, division director for the North Central Division, he's going to certainly express that, hey, we were able to expand our market with this market and this coming together of so many great personalities and cars, whether they are designed to get the peak of performance or whether they're designed just to blow the tires off in a burnout pit, whichever way it was. And the fact is, the people in the stands, whether they knew it or not, they were able to see showcased a spectacular regional that I think when we look back at the end of the year, this regional may very well have some of the biggest national championship implications when we look back. What a stellar field it was with Brian Howe and Sean Bellemere, Kyle Smith, and others in Top Alcohol Funny Car. And then Top Alcohol Dragster was just simply loaded. Cody Crone, Jackie Frick, Tony Stewart, Julie Natus, all there in competition. I really think, especially in Top Alcohol Dragster, we're going to look back at that regional and see that it made a difference in whoever is crowned the national champion at the end of the year.
Yeah, and that's one of those ones, like you said, it's one of those ones that maybe was kind of overlooked on the calendar at first, but now, like you said, going back and looking at it, you're like, okay, this is going to have, this one's going to hold a little bit more just because of how stacked the fields were, and I mean how many people actually did show up. So when you have that so early in the season, you may not think about it long term, but it's going to be one of those deciding factors. And especially with, like I said, and you said it, with the way that this class is and how competitive they are. I mean, honestly, and we've said it on this show multiple times, but this year completely, I mean, from head to toe, I think this is one of the best years of just drag racing combined. I think you're going to see from top to bottom, you're going to see, people that you weren't expecting. You're going to see cars that maybe barely qualify, have a run for things. And that's what it takes is, we always talk about, oh, we want to see this person drive away with it, but I don't see it yet this year. I don't see a definite, defined moment where it's like, okay, but I think this weekend you're going to look back and go, man, if I could have got another round, or, if I could have knocked this person or been steadier on the tree, it would have helped me out.
Right. I agree with your statement that we're going to see those that are higher qualified in the back, performing and going rounds because, well, let's take Doug Foley example. 380 was 16th at the Circle K 4-wide Nationals at ZMAX Dragway. 380 is nothing to be ashamed of. But as competitive as Top Fuel is today, that was the 16th number. And when we look ahead, for example, going into Chicago, and you have TJ Zizzo coming back out, and you have individuals such as Will Smith driving for Larry Dixon, and they have expressed, I got to talk with Will at Nitro Chaos, that test session and licensing session for Cody Crone, that car had been changed. That car had been updated. Tony Shortall and Larry Dixon expects that car to perform better than what it did at the U.S. Nationals last year. So the bump at Chicago for Top Fuel, at least as we're talking, very well, absolutely could be insane. It is wild how competitive it is. If I remember correctly, the bump even at this regional that we just wrapped up was a 529 to make the show. Insane in Top Alcohol Dragster right now.
I just think, Lee, and especially with going to Chicago, I think some of the crew chiefs and some of the drivers are going to kind of, they're going to want to put that flair on it, right? I mean, you haven't been there in a while. You want to put on a damn good show. I'm just going to say it like it is. You want to put on a damn good show. So you're going to go out there and be able to, or maybe, one pass out of the qualifying, you're going to throw the kitchen sink at it just to give the fans, I mean, what they came to see. And so I think everyone that's walking through those gates for the first time in a couple of years is going to see a show that they haven't seen before. And it's not going to be your run of the mill show. I think, like I said, you'll maybe see some chess matches, some, games being played, but it's going to be an all out spectacle. And I just hope the facility is ready to go. I hope that they're ready to handle it and be there. And, And that way, they can lock it in for however long the deal is or whatever their situation may be. But it's just one of those things. I mean, we're hearing more and more of tracks closing. So if now we have a track that's going to be open, I just, you can't, I'm just going to say, you can't cry wolf and say, hey, come back. And then when they show up, not be prepared for it. So.
Absolutely. Last year we on this very show pushed really, really big the regional that took place there, kind of a warm up to this national event. They did say that, hey, we had a good crowd for a regional, and that was good. And definitely hoping that this national event will not look anything like national events in the past for the Route 66 Nationals, but that it will be seen as a successful event, even from the view of the snaps with people in the stands. We do got some comments coming in, rolling in. Andrew, thank you for commenting, man. He states this weekend is NASCAR's throwback race. What NHRA throwback scheme would you guys like to see? Loved Tasca's Glidden tribute years ago at Indy. Obviously, it's been very successful with Darlington being the throwback race for NASCAR that started up with the Southern Nationals, not the Southern Nationals, excuse me, the Southern 500 getting back on its original date with Labor Day and they making it a throwback race. We've talked on this show, Sam, that NHRA needs a throwback race. We've had people like Brian Loans in agreement. We know we need to see it, but what would you like to see as an NHRA throwback out there in competition?
Dang. Obviously, as a Ford guy, you want to see the Winston, right? I mean, I would love to see that car back out there.
Are we referring to Whit Bazemore?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you saying a race? Are you saying a racetrack? Or are you saying like a scheme that I would like to see?
Andrew's asking scheme specific.
Oh. I can't give you one though. Like you're putting me on the spot for one. So
it is tough. Yes.
Like, I don't know. I mean, honestly, like when I think about throwbacks, and here it goes, I'm just gonna say it, but when I think about throwbacks, I always thinking about walking in and out as a kid, and you used to look up in the did you lose me for a second?
There for just a moment, yes.
Yeah,
your arm went up. Don't lift your arm no more.
Okay. I'm calling in the UFOs up here. But yeah, I mean, you used to go back in and out back in the days, right? And walk in and you see the t-shirts up there and see the old classic cars. So I mean, dude, I don't know. Like there's a lot. Like you would literally have to give me a book and let me like sit through and pick and give you sticky notes and put numbers on them.
For sure. It is hard to pick. Well, let's break it down by class then. Pro stock, top fuel, and funny car. Let's start there. I'll give my funny car one. I actually would love to see someone run a scheme similar to Bruce Larson's championship funny car that he had, I believe. Oh wow, I'm dating. I think it's '89, and he's running with Joe Amato, and they're connected. That was a pretty funny car. I'd like to see that.
I know which one I'd like to see. It's a pro mod car though.
Okay.
I can find the picture because I know I sent it in a text message.
Well, while you're searching, I'll go ahead and throw out top fuel. I know that Steve Torrance just a few years ago did a Don Garlett's throwback scheme, which was great, by the way. But I would like to see specifically a 1986 Don Garlits throwback with that big impact yellow and red lettering like Super Shops. Whatever the sponsor is, do it like that.
The old Mike? Torco.
Is that Mike Ashley?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Torco. Wow. Torco, WWF, and Oakley. Yeah, there could be some interesting schemes to bring back in those functionality.
Like, look at this scheme. Couldn't you just see this big skull wrapped over Justin Ashley's car? Instead of the green, you have the light blue that he runs, and then the black and white American flag, right? And it says Torco going down. Like, that would be mint. Like, you know what, Dad? Like, I know we always run on Mother's Day, but if we ran on Father's Day weekend, which I don't think we do. I don't know if we do this year. But, like, there you go, Justin. If you're watching it, there you go.
I'd say from the pro stock ranks, I would like to see, and there are so many good ones that you could go with from the pro stock ranks. I obviously am a Bob Glidden fan, but even though I'm a Bob Glidden fan, it would be neat to see someone go with the color scheme of Warren Johnson in the Buick Forenza from like 86 and 87. That color scheme with good wrench on it. That was a good. I like those actually. That would be neat to see on a pro stocker again, especially with so many cars doing the matte now here recently. Like Kyle Koretsky's matte Lucas Oil theme is sharp. When you get up to it, mat's the way to go in a pro stocker right now.
Now you're gonna get mad at me. But the Yankee theme, yeah, that's sick. I like the old school Jegs car.
Okay. Hey, no, yeah.
You know what like with the big black, what was it? The big black stripe down the middle? Yeah.
Yep.
Like down the
You're
side
talking about
of the
door.
Cutlass,
the Oldsmobile Cutlass.
Yep. Yeah, I would. I mean, that's just me, but yeah, that's what I would go there.
So, okay, there we go. You've got Pro Stock Top Fuel mentioned there. We did have, let's see, we had someone chime in here on, Drag Racing Central. Good comment here. He says, I hope NHRA is looking hard at promoting their own drivers. We need one of our pro drivers to have that influence. Now, he's referring back to us mentioning like Cletus McFarland and the reach that he's got, which is tremendous. It is a tremendous reach that he has in the multimedia world. I think right now, one of the guys probably doing the best of continuing to grow his reach is Clay Milliken. With Drag Racing Central making this comment, Sam, do you think that it is the NHRA's job to promote the drivers, or is it the drivers themselves that should be taking it upon them? Because when you look at like Cletus McFarland, he's someone, like so many, they have took it upon themselves to promote themselves. So who is it?
That's a double-edged sword there, because yes, the NHRA is supposed to promote the driver and what we do, but the NHRA is I shouldn't say entitled, but the NHRA is promoting their series, right? Because we do so much promoting of Nitro, and these are the people of Nitro. But they have to promote the series because their sponsorship is not dedicated to one driver, right? Like they have so much time to promote Matt Hagan. They have so much time to promote this guy, and this guy. Their money isn't allocated to promote the driver. Now, just like you said, a driver like Clay Milliken is doing that. He's reaching out. He's doing stuff with the No Prep guys. He's doing, he's talking to Daddy Dave and building a car. In the words of Wes Buck, is you can't complain about the music if you're not beating your own drum, right? Or something like that. It is the driver's responsibility to promote themselves. Just like, the drivers are going out and getting these deals and making these, you know, making the, A to B and the B to B marketing partner and the sponsorship deals. It's their responsibility to do that. Now, NHRA is broadening their media outlook and their reach and getting more people like yourself, like Darren, um, like Sarah Slaughters, you know, the Kyle Chris and Straight Line Medias and the limo guys and people like that. They're putting people in place and allowing people to come in and do things. Some of those people that I mentioned don't necessarily do stuff for just NHRA. They do stuff for other sanctions and events, but the NHRA has opened that. So honestly, I think it's a double-edged sword, but I think it 100% goes back to the driver because whoever they hire to do their media should be telling the story of that driver.
I agree with that. The NHRA has a large enough job. How do we promote the NHRA? And how do we get people to understand who won and what is the difference between pro stock motorcycle, pro stock, funny car, top fuel? Oh, let's not even mention the professional sportsman classes such as top alcohol dragster and top alcohol funny car and so on and so on. They have enough to handle. And yes, the drivers have got to take it upon themselves to find their personality, to find their, who they are and put it out there and work it, just like a Cletus McFarland or anyone else on YouTube that has had the gumption to put themselves out there and make it.
Yeah, but DRC also makes a good point in his comment right before his last one. He says, however, NHRA willing to participate, no driver seems willing to put themselves out there. It's and I've had this conversation with a couple of drivers, but you got to remember, it's so much easier for Cletus McFarland to pick up a camera when he was cleaning the stairs at the Freedom Factory when he just bought that. You know what I mean? It was so much easier for him to go out and say how he feels and throw a paintbrush. I mean, I've watched a lot of his stuff when he first bought that place, rip walls out. It's a lot easier for him to do that because he doesn't have these multi thousands of dollar deals with companies where yes, with social media it's a lot easier, but you have to remember this is a marketing class. Like this isn't just going out and doing whatever you want and if someone doesn't like it, oh well. I mean, these are these men and women's livelihoods. I mean, just look at it. I mean, Maco Tools is across AB's car, and Napa's across Ron Cap's deal. You have Mobile One across Tony Stewart. Like you look at all this, you have Dodge over with Matt Hagan and them. I mean, these are Fortune 500 companies. You know what I mean? These are corporate companies. You can't just go out and say, well, today I felt like this and I did that. You know what I mean? You have to play that fine line. So yeah, is it harder? 100%. Yes. And I'm reading the comments. Yeah. Summit does sponsor Cletus, but it is not Race Quip sponsored Cletus. I mean, he had a thing with Holly. Holly ended up buying Race Quip. How do you think that deal kind of came about? But I mean, yeah, it's all a fine line. I mean, there's so much you can do within the rules and regulations of what you can do with NHRA and as a business and as a company. I mean, we can go back and forth on all of it, but um, I mean, it's two different ball games within the same realm of stick and ball sports, if you want to say it like that.
I think you bring up a good point. Yes, the corporate factor and media and fan base alike complain about the corporate nature of many of these drivers. And And we want the personalities to come out. Personalities do need to come out. Personalities will drive forward the sport. Why was that Indy or Freedom 800, I believe is what it was, there at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park at the Oval? Why was it so well attended? And it was well attended. I mean, there were people all the way around into the grass, wrapping around into turn one. The stands were full for watching what? Crown Vics with nitrous on them. And look, it's a Crown Vic. And Crown Vics put on good racing. I love going to my local short track and seeing the Crown Vic class and them duke it out. It is good racing. But people were there to see the personalities from like Vice Grip Garage and many other YouTube channels, and their person that they're a fan of. Personalities is what is going to move the sport forward, in any sport forward, honestly.
Lee, I'm going to say this, and it's something that I heard on a totally different podcast. It was Shannon Sharp and Steve Harvey. And Steve Harvey was saying that, he went out to eat with Samuel. Like, hey, and Sam was like, say the magic word. And the guy was like, yeah, I just want to take a picture with you. He's like, say the magic word. And the guy's like, I want to take a picture with you. So Steve Harvey tapped the guy and said, the magic word is please. And then the guy turned to Steve Harvey and said, can I take a picture with you? And he said, yeah. And the comparison that Steve Harvey made there was Samuel L. Jackson is on movies, right? People pay to go and see him do this stuff. They pay their ticket to go and watch the movie, sit in the movie theater and watch him. Steve Harvey is on probably 9 channels within your home at any given time of the day. Steve Harvey is more relatable to you because you see him when you're sitting in your boxers or at 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. If you're still up and you're sitting there eating ding dongs and ho-hos, you're probably watching Family Feud. I'm guilty of it, right? You're not, the only time you see Samuel L. Jackson is when he's asking what's in your wallet. You know what I mean? So there's that connection. The connection with Cletus McFarland is I can watch him wherever I go. If I want to watch YouTube videos of this guy from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, I can. With someone like Antron Brown, Leah Pruitt, Erica Enders, Matt Hagan, anything like that. Yes, they do have social medias, but I'm paying to go to an event, to see them, where Cletus, he brings it to me. And that's the difference, is where we as people in the media world and we, as drivers and everything, we need to figure out how do we bring it to them so they don't always have to come to us. And I think, like you said, that's where it puts it in the onus of whoever their media person is. That's where it puts it in the onus of the driver to make that connection and make it more relatable.
All right. Well,
I said a lot there to say a little bit, but you got the message, hopefully.
Hey, personalities. They're the stars for sure. There's a reason why when John Force's car goes by, no one hollers. But when he goes by on his little scooter with one hand up in the air holding his hat, everybody cheers. See?
Exactly.
There's a difference.
Yep.
All right, folks, we're going to take a break. Right after the break, our first guest of the night, Chris King, is going to be back behind the wheel at the Route 66 Nationals with a new deal. Definitely excited to talk to him concerning what is going on. And William Tharp after Chris King here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Sam.
So, I guess I do have something to say before the show goes on. And I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to cry. But I am making a personal decision with a lot of things that have been going on with me. Some of you guys know in the media world, in the motorsports world, but just a lot going on with me personally. I'm not going to get into detail, but I want to first thank Bobby Bennett for this opportunity. It's been 127 shows. I know I've missed a few. To Lee, my co-host, my friend, my buddy, someone that I know I can talk to anytime about anything. To Elin Warner for all the help that you've done and given me and been there for. But to you guys out there that have sit in your homes and watch this show and say hi when you see me at the track, unfortunately, I am going to be taking a step away from motorsports for a period of time. This is not a goodbye, but it's just some things that I need to do for me. And, you know, if anyone has any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out to me. But it is nothing wrong. There's nothing going on, but just to get me together, I'm going to be taking a step away. So thank you to all you guys that have watched, who welcome me into your, like I said, into your homes and your YouTube channels and everything. And if you see me, I may be at a couple of races this year, but for right now, that is a decision that I'm making for my health and for me.
Sam, thank you for your effort and your time and for being on the show. And I mean, we're going to continue to move forward for sure, but it's been a good ride, my friend.
Thank you. Yeah. One last burnout, my friend. Love you like a brother. You're my brother from another mother, the Amish guy, as John Force would call you, but it's been an honor
Stevie
and it's been
Wonder.
a pleasure. Yeah. The blind. Yeah. Whatever he wants to call us, but
right, whatever.
Yes, to the Power Hour family, like I said, you guys keep going strong. I'll be tuning in here and there. Who knows? Maybe I might be the insider. I don't know, but just give me some time. Bear with me, but I'll be back.
Do what you got to do, man. Thank you, folks. We're going to take a break. Right after the break, Chris King on the Competition Plus Power Hour.
Competition Products, your source for hardcore engine parts for street, strip, and oval track. Our free catalog is packed with hundreds of product lines from the best-known manufacturers in the performance industry. Lowest prices guaranteed. Free shipping and handling on all orders over $149 in the continental U.S. Need expert advice? Our knowledgeable staff is just a phone call away. Competition Products, race parts sold by racers since 1970.
Well, there you go, dude. That's your commercial for you.
Absolutely. That was the best roll-in you could have came up with, Lee. It is great to see you. Thank you for having me. And I want to say, Sammy, we're going to miss you, buddy. Take care of yourself and reach out if you need anything.
Man, look, good to have you on the show. Good to talk to you. It's been a while since I have been able to chat with you. I think the last time I was able to talk with you probably was a Nitro Chaos out in the middle of somewhere. But it's been a little while since you've been behind the wheel of a big show car. When was the last time that you were out in a big bad nitro fueled machine?
So our last outing in the big show would have been St. Louis 2021, completion out of the event. We decided that the car wasn't quite cooperating the way we wanted it to work. And we decided to park it and kind of regroup and figure out what was going on with the car until we could get it right.
Well, in that time frame, you didn't stop driving. I know that you were able to hop in a Nostalgia Funny car in Florida for an event, a beautiful car, Duster, I believe, gold and black. Talk to me about that ride, who owns it and how that deal worked out.
Well, that car is it's called Fool's Gold, and it's owned by Mike Harrigan out of Florida. And Mike and I hooked up a couple times to run a couple chaos events and do some match racing down in Florida a couple times. And, it was good practice, good car. It's fun, a lot less stressful than trying to run the big show. But we had some bad luck with that car too, ended up kicking the rods out, and that set that program back a little bit too. So all around, we're trying to get that program back up and running with Mike. And then, how things rolled out, we got lucky, and my career back in the big show started to get some steam, and now we're back.
Yes, sir. That funny car is a beautiful machine, but you have had certainly the goal to be a competitive funny car racer at the highest level, the NHRA Camping World level. And you made the announcement that, hey, you're going to be back at the Route 66 Nationals, which is a home race. You're out of Chicago. And so that folks do know, you might have starred in Backdraft for all we know. But you're up there in Chicago. You're a firefighter. And in particular, you are with a special unit of firefighters from the last time I know I talked with you. So what's going on in your life professionally over there in the emergency world of Chicago?
Things are busy as ever. I'm on a squad company, which is a special operations heavy rescue, one of 4 in the entire city. So we respond to anything out of the ordinary, along with lots of fires, car wrecks, scuba diving, ropes, trench collapse, bad car accidents, things like that. So when firemen need help, they call the squad, and we're there when they need us.
You're like the Marines of the firefighter world. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Or special forces, that's very cool that y'all are able to do that. And so, hopping into the nitro burner and taking a lap down the drag strip, I'm sure it's, if anyone can handle it, you'll be able to handle it. You've handled a lot with that emergency roll. Let's talk about the deal itself, man. I mean, by the pictures in the press release, this is a good looking funny car, dude. And Howard Cam's on board, Competition Products, several other partners. How did all of this come together to get you back out in the 343 designated funny car for NHRA competition?
Well, I've been working with a lot of these guys on pretty small levels for a long time, all the way back to our alcohol funny car days. And we've been working, trying to get this nitro car back out on the track. And it's incredibly tough in the NHRA to come out with no major sponsors or backing. So ironically enough, I was scrolling through Twitter and I came across a couple designs of cars. And it just happened to be a designer by the name of Jason Beckman. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together at first. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I'm trying to get some sponsors. Would you be interested in doing some concepts for me? And Jason was like, yeah, absolutely. So I gave him some ideas and he came up with some designs for a few different sponsors. And we threw them out there to try to see if we get some traction. And Robert from Competition Products saw the car design for that. And he's like, I love this. We need to make this a reality. What do we need to do? And we started talking from there. And basically, they help out substantially with parts and consumable things like bearings and pistons and just odds and ends, MSD parts, things like that help maintain the car. It takes a little bit of burden off of my budget. So without any major sponsors, I decided to give them the entire car as a wrap to get them some traction and to say thank you for their years of support. And this is actually Jason's first car that's come into life. And it turns out after I put my head on and thought about it for a brief second, Jason is the son of Jack Beckman, former world champion funny car driver, who was also very vital in kind of mentoring me into the nitro ranks. So it was a really cool coincidence that came full circle, and it's working out for everybody. But if it wasn't for that car concept, we probably wouldn't have got the traction that we needed to secure a little bit more help to make this happen.
It is certainly a good-looking scheme. Mr. Beckman, Jason Beckman, did a phenomenal job. I cannot wait to see it in person. I won't be able to see you in Chicago. I will be in Texas, but definitely will keep an eye on your performance there at the Route 66 Nationals. But apparently this is not just the only race of the year. This deal does have more to it. Will we see that car continue on down the road, or do we expect changes at other national events?
So as of right now, that car will be at least 3 races. We're always pursuing sponsors and trying to get a little bit more financial help and try to make more serious of a racing schedule. But right now we're shooting to do 6 events, and that's all dependent on parts and wear and tear and our performance. If we start tearing parts up, then obviously that's going to shorten our plans. But if things go as planned, we're going to try to get 6 races out there, and that car will stay the same until something comes along as a big sponsorship. And we got Terry Totten as the crew chief coming back to help out, and Terry has phenomenal tune-ups that don't tear up parts and go A to B. So we're looking forward to a consistent car and being right there and making it down the track.
Terry Totten certainly knows how to get a car to go A to B, make a field, and that was certainly showcased at the Mile High Nationals with Joey Haas in the car. I mean, one round, not even the head's coming off, and they're able to make it all the way to the final round and go A to B. Definitely he can get that done with the program and how he does tune. So you definitely have a capable tuner. Look, going into it, you as a driver, this will be the first time you're behind the wheel in how long? And how long do you expect it to take you to come up to speed? Because that is certainly an issue for any of the drivers after they have been out of the seat for a while.
Yeah, for sure. Last time I was behind the wheel of the nostalgia car was down in Florida with Mike Harrigan. That was about 6 months ago. We did a show, had some good laps down there. Jumping into the nitro car, it definitely is something that you need to brush the cobwebs off. I mean, that car is so fast, so unpredictable, and gets ahead of you faster than you can blink. So you really got to be on your A game mentally and be prepared for it. So, we're going to creep up on it. Obviously, we don't run 380s like the big dogs do. We're going to go out there, make some respectable passes and ease into it. We need to we need to make sure our tune-up is safe so we're not tearing parts up. And then once we're comfortable with our setup, then we're going to get after it a little bit. But, it's going to take a few laps to get back into the swing of things. But I'm up for it. Terry's up for it. And we got a good crew of volunteer guys that come from various backgrounds in racing. So we're hopefully to have a good weekend. And if not, we get to hang out at the racetrack and see old friends.
Which is always a good thing for sure, to remember the racing family. But we know you want to do well. I want you to do well, and we hope that you have a good showing there at the Route 66 Nationals and beyond. Why nitro racing, dude? And look, I say that knowing like why for me. Like I got a taste of it in warming up a nitro funny car this past weekend, and I'm like, it's even worse now to keep working to that goal. But I mean, you're a firefighter. I mean, you're doing something that like most boys when they're 5, like every boy when they're 5 usually says, I want to be a firefighter. You're actually doing it. So why now also pursue being a funny car driver in the nitro ranks?
The old saying, Lee, you only live once, man, make it count. But seriously though, I grew up kind of into motorsports and racing. I started racing dirt bikes at a really young age. And after breaking too many bones and getting hurt, I decided, it was time to do something safer. So I jumped in drag racing cars instead. So I always loved cars as a kid. We had street cars and we'd go to Great Lakes Dragway in my hometown up in Racine, Wisconsin. And we'd go out and run 13, 14-second cars and think we were cool and kings of the street. And we started hot rodding and doing things like that. But what got me back into racing is hooking back up with my friend Andy Bull in his alcohol funny car. I crewed for him for a long time and learned about all kinds of things on the race car. And then I just got the itch because I don't like to sit back and just watch. I want to drive. I want to see what this is like. I want to do it because I know I can. So I went down to Frank Hawley's, got licensed in Super Comp, came back the next week, got licensed in alcohol funny car. And then I went out there and started running a little bit of alcohol funny car. And then from there, everybody loves nitro, the lure. You guys talked about drivers getting out there and things like that. It's hard for alcohol guys to try to find momentum in sponsorship because the audience isn't quite there. And you see that at national events. Everybody leaves the stands. Everybody cares about nitro. So I wanted to be up there. I wanted to race the best of the best, and I wanted to go fast. Alcohol was exciting, but I wanted to go faster. So that led me to nitro. And just like you said, by warming that car up, the minute you sit in a nitro car and it's running and you hit that gas pedal and it takes off, you're hooked. There's no going back. It ruins you forever, and you don't want anything but that. And it's an adrenaline, it's an addiction, and it's just something that you can't even explain to people without getting goosebumps on your arms thinking about it, because it's such an insane and an amazing thing to experience from inside the cockpit.
Yes, I mean, man, I can only imagine just sitting in a warm up and the rumble and on nitro and everything and the management involved just in that is like it's enticing. It is certainly enticing to get the feeling of what is it when that body comes down and you've got that narrow field of view and you are prepared to stab the throttle and take it down the strip. So certainly glad that you're able to live out that dream. You are pursuing the dream. You're working for the dream. You know, it fascinates me. People will come up to me and they're like, man, you're living the dream. And I am in a lot of ways, but I have to remind them, no, I'm working a dream. It is not just showing up the track and do nothing and be at a racetrack. It is a lot of work. Let's step back. Yes, we're going into the Route 66 Nationals. We're going to Chicago. The deal is done. You're going to race, but how many phone calls, how many emails, what kind of work was this around being a firefighter and getting the job done? And man, you sell it, because let's make sure everybody understands that to go nitro racing, to go professional racing, it takes a lot of work.
Lee, it's insane, especially now that I am the owner driver of the team. Coordinating things with Terry. I mean, I would be 100% lost without Terry. I'm going to owe him forever for all the work he's putting in, getting this car ready out in Omaha. I'm flying out tomorrow to go meet up with him to get a few things done on the car. But I came home from running errands today and my wife looked at me and she's like, is it going to be like this for every one of these races? And I'm like, no, it's just this one. There's just so much going on. My phone has been blowing up for people saying congratulations, and then everybody else looking for tickets and can I come hang out? Do I need crew help? Emails, everything like that. It's very, very stressing a little bit, but also exciting that I'm back, So, I hired Elon Werner to help me out to get my name out there and do some things. And he has been absolutely amazing with press releases and setting up shows like being with you tonight. And I need that kind of momentum to get going because I'm not good at social media and all that kind of stuff either. So it's exhausting, but once I get my feet in there and dig in and learn this side of the business, it's going to get easier from here. And hopefully after this first one, it'll slow down a little bit and be easier.
Well, we have seen this year thus far that the teams that can go out there and maybe they don't run 380s, maybe they're not running even low 390s, they are hitting high 390s or hitting the fours, they have been able to go rounds. Obviously, Terry Haddock, he will be in the Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge there, even at Chicago, because he was able to make a semifinal round appearance at the NHRA Winter Nationals there in Pomona. We've seen Jeff Deal jump up and get a round win and others. So do you go into it, though, underperforming, realizing and knowing, man, we've got a shot because it's funny car, it's drag racing. You never know what might happen.
Absolutely. These cars, there's a million ways to lose, and every one of us has tried to find every one of those. We're looking just to be consistent. My goal is to make the car a 4.0 to a 399 car consistently. And of course, we'll be able to hop it a little bit, maybe run upper 390s. But if we can do that safely and get down the track, when people pull up next to us, they're going to be, thinking about the fact that we go down the track, and they're going to have to make sure they get down the track. And these big horsepower cars and world famous drivers, they tend to blow the tires off or have traction problems or, overestimate the track. So you can't take guys like us lightly. Don't think that we're a duck when you pull up next to us, because we're going to try to be there and throw our wrench in the field.
Well, man, being from Chicago, you're going to be at your home event in essence. I always enjoy when I go to races checking out what else there is beyond a race, because frankly, there is more to life than just racing. And when I have opportunity to go elsewhere than just TGI Fridays, because it's the only thing open late at night when I get done covering a race, I want to experience local things. Like Sunday night, went to Rick's Boatyard Cafe there in Indy. Finally got that in that had been recommended so many times. And it was good. Certainly see why people go to that place, and it's like the drag racing after party. Chicago, though, what do people got to do? What do people got to experience? What do they got to eat?
Well, everybody loves Chicago pizza. You know, you got the thick pizza versus New York's thin pizza. So try to go get a slice of pizza downtown. I have my favorites, and other people have their favorites. There's probably the chain restaurants, but I like the kind of hole in the wall mom and pop places that are a little out of the ordinary. We're known for our food. There's so many different food places here in Chicago, from your Italian to your steak houses to your mom and pop Polish places. I mean, if you can think of different styles of food, there's a place in Chicago to go grab it. You know, downtown, we got our museums, we got our sports teams, we got all kinds of stuff. It's a beautiful city to look at. Unfortunately, it's just kind of getting a little rough due to economic times and politics. But, you know, living here, I have a different attitude about it than tourists do. Everybody's like, yeah, it's great to be in Chicago. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. We live here. But it's just different when you live here. You know what I mean?
I got to drive through there last year on my way to Eddyville after the Indianapolis 500, and I went an insane, crazy, scenic route to get in 2 states. And I appreciate your offer of even, you know, showing me around. I was just there for a day, but yeah, I got Wrigley in, and what a strange situation when you look at like modern day ballparks and where they are situated. And Wrigley looks like it's completely a part of a neighborhood because it's in a neighborhood. It is just fascinating where it is situated, and parking, and how does everybody get there, and things of that nature. And then what a beautiful drive on the lakefront there. That was very enjoyable. And I knew it was there, but to drive it and to see it and experience it was cool. Mike, Kristen does ask, what is your favorite drag strip and why?
My favorite drag strip? I like Joliet a lot, hometown, but it's a hell of a facility. But once it went away, you know, that put me back into Norwalk. I've always loved what Bill Bader does with Norwalk. Beautiful facility, asphalt everywhere for the pits, things for kids to do. And who wants to miss on the dollar ice cream? You can't pass that up. So I like Norwalk a lot too. It's a great facility. You know, that they're all good, but you know, I'm gonna miss Bandamere too. That's the first place I ever drove. First place I actually got to talk to you. And this is our last year at Bandamere, so that one's going to be missed. But, yeah, I'd have to say Norwalk or Joliet are probably my top 2 favorites.
All right. Yes, I had you on Between the Slicks a couple years ago for that first national event debut there at Bandamere. And I've got to get out there. I still have not been there. I won't be there for the national event. Looks like Jet Car Nationals is going to be my opportunity to get Thunder on the Mountain there just outside of Denver, Colorado. I'm curious. You know, we got 426 Hemi. I got this comment pulled up. He says, pulling for you, Chris. My dad was a CFD badge number 370. What do other firefighters think about what you're doing? And do you know, firefighting is always, it's seen as a fraternity and even a brotherhood. Do you see that come out like at the races? Other people who are volunteer firefighters, who are firefighters, who've been in it or are currently in it, seeking you out and connecting with you?
100%, Lee. Every race I went to, firemen came up, wanted to shake my hand and just say hi and say thanks for what we do, introduce themselves, tell me about their departments, and ask questions about my department. And then everybody was just like, you know, it's pretty badass that you're out here racing. You know, we're rooting for you. And it doesn't matter that I suck. You know, they're brothers, just like you said. A lot of the NHRA safety safari guys are former firemen or retired firemen. Every one of those guys came to my pit to make sure they introduced themselves to me and let me know that they were there for me and, you know, looking forward to working with me. So it's a brotherhood. Everywhere you go, firefighters have some kind of a bond, and we try to stick together, help each other out and be there for each other. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, usually there's a brotherhood, and, you know, you take care of your own, and it's really cool. I'm going to do a thing, and this is actually the first time I'm announcing this, Lee, so hopefully you'll get some traction with this. Any first responder, military veteran, or anybody involved in public safety, come to my pit at any of the races we're at and sign your name on the back of our car. I want to have a traveling wall of first responders on my car. So we're going to have people signing it at every place we go and try to get first responders involved and be part of our team.
I like that. I like that. Definitely, folks, get by Chris King's pit. Last question for you, Chris, before I move on to our second guest of the night, Mr. William Tharp. 343, your number on that funny car. Why? Well,
firefighters know that number. It's kind of a sombering number, but I'm running it as a memorial and a tribute. The 343 stands for the 343 firefighters that were killed on 9/11 in New York City. Unfortunately, that number increases every day with the cancer and people dying from illnesses related to the toxins that were breathed in. But the 343 has been embedded in the fire service as a number that represents those that perished on 9/11. So being from Division 3, my number would have started with the 300 series anyway. And originally I was 336 when I first got my license from Division 3 in the North Central Division. When I licensed up into Nitro, I reached out to NHRA and explained what I wanted to do and asked them if 343 was available. And they said, absolutely, it was available. And they gave it to me. And that's what I run for my competition numbers on all my cars.
Thank you. Chris King, man, we're pulling for you at the Route 66 Nationals. Thank you for coming on the Competition Plus Power Hour tonight. And last words.
I just want to thank you, Lee, for letting me chat with you. It's great to see you again. I miss you. Hopefully we'll catch you at a race soon. To everybody out there watching, thanks for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you at the races, and keep supporting us little guys. We need it.
You all pull for the firemen. Thank you, Chris. Well, folks, we will take a break right here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. After the break, we're going to bring on the second guest of the night, Mr. William Tharp, NHRA Division 3, the North Central Division Director, and, figure out what the heck he does, but also talk about a very successful event at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park that they just had this weekend, right after this word from Holly and Pete.
Classic car owners, make your headlights over twice as bright with Holley Retro Bright LED headlights. A plug-in replacement for those dim halogen seal beams, Retro Bright maintains that classic look and lasts 6 times longer. Stay safe and click the link below to learn more.
If you want to take your vehicle's performance to new heights, you got to give it P. Like our original equipment technology, antifreeze and coolant. Our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle. That's one reason why Peak is among the fastest growing brands of coolant in America. We work harder to earn the trust of people like you every day.
Mr. Tharp, man, I just saw you. Hadn't been that long. How's it going, man?
It's going, man. How about yourself?
Man, it is good. A good night to talk about drag racing, and glad to have you on. Man, what a momentous time it is for the North Central Division, Division 3, with all that is going on and has transpired. Before we really dive in, I'm curious, is there a bit of internal rivalry with all the other divisions amongst the NHRA? I'm just curious, from a director. Like, I know you got to love all the other guys, but is there a bit of like, yeah, we did a little better than you guys?
You know, I'd love to say there is, but there's not. What I want is success for everybody. It's not about me and the North Central Division. It's about NHRA. It's about the brand. It's about what we do. To have the mindset that we're better than everyone else, that's not what this is about. I want the NHRA, the world of motorsports in general, to be better. Together as a group, we'll lift up all the divisions. Everyone has their challenges. Everyone has their bright spots, their lows, their highs. But to say that we are the better of anyone, I will never do that. We might banter back and forth and just joking around. But at the end of the day, we are all for one and one for all. I know it sounds kind of cheesy to say it that way, but that's my mindset. If we have success over here in the North Central Division, I want the same for any of the other directors out there. We're a group. We've got each other's back. A lot of changes in the last couple of years, and especially this last year, has happened within the director ranks. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the future will hold. I enjoy setting the example, both good and bad. I've been on the forefront of the bad side. Now I'm finding the good side. So it's certainly a challenge, but in general, I don't ever want to sit there and beat my chest and say we're the best. Yeah, we're the land of the winners, and that's pretty much all we need to say. What I'll say at the end of the day.
Setting a good example. I believe this past weekend with Lucas Oil, Indianapolis Raceway Park, Cletus and Cars, that was definitely done. Talk to us about the work involved, though, of bringing in individuals such as Cletus, and then what he brings, that show, but also saying, hey, we're going to have a points meet for our top alcohol divisions as well. And it all coming together. Was there anyone like, that's crazy, that's wild, or was everybody in? What was the process to get to this point?
Well, everyone thought we were crazy. Now, if you've known of me or people that know of me, when they say it can't be done, I will figure out a way to make it get done. I know it sounds like a cheesy line from a movie or something of that nature. But the idea or concept was actually launched about a year and a half ago, actually, when we ran into a challenge or a stumbling block between our regional schedule and the national event schedule with the 4 Wide in Charlotte. Needed to land a date for our first regional event of the season. We typically like to go early in the season with some of the venues. Others would like to wait till later in the year. Well, long story short, we were going to have to split the alcohol categories. They would have to make a choice between the regional event or the 4 Wide in Charlotte after the national event schedule was released. So actually in a conversation, just a haphazard conversation here at the office with Casey Kohler, who oversees the operations here at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, we had the idea of, have you ever thought about breaking the alcohol categories out? And I said, I'm game. Let's see if it'll work. Well, it happened to be the weekend that we would have that this would need to happen was when the Cletus and Cars event came into town. One simple phone call, believe it or not, and said, hey, we've got a proposition. Are you interested? And from the Cletus side, they said, absolutely, we'd love to. Let's explore it. Let's see if it'll work. And that's where the whole thing started. It was just basically a need to figure out where to land the regional side of the event with the alcohol categories, and some phone calls and a whole lot of planning and a whole lot of looking at the situation we were getting ourselves into and preparing. So the event itself was actually over a year in preparation to what you actually were witness to over the weekend.
And what a stellar event it was all around. And other than the weather Sunday morning pushing things back a bit, it seemed like it went off with any hitches. Is that the case? What was behind the scenes? Did it go that smoothly?
Yeah, actually it did. The big thing working with not only the folks here at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, number one, number two, working with the Cletus and crew group, and there's a ton of people behind the scenes and I'd love to go through and name every one of them, but I didn't have every one of them. I know Alan, his main individual behind the scenes that we would coordinate with, was an absolute pleasure to work with. We stayed in communication the whole time. We really didn't know how the show was going to go, but we knew we had different points during the day that we needed to hit. The burnout contest needed to start at a certain time. Alcohol cars needed to light at a certain time. We needed to be done by a certain time. And then we also had his live pay-per-view window, which we needed to fit within as well. So the entire day was really, it flowed nicely. The simplicity of it made it a pleasure to work with and a pleasure to operate our alcohol categories within. Luckily, we were able to do a test session on Friday afternoon, let a few of the drivers get a few polls in to feel comfortable with only a 2 qualifying session event. Typically, they would have 3. So we gave a little, they gave a little on their program. And at the end of the day, the final round of the streetcar shootout happened. Burnout contest started on time. First round of alcohol was in the lanes and going down track on time. So there was really no challenges. The biggest challenge, the biggest unknown that a lot of folks were really concerned about was the track prep. And we were fortunate enough to have Jeff Conley, who oversees the NHRA safety safari, who's actually local here in Brownsburg or Indianapolis, however you want to phrase it. He was able to help start the prep on the track. So basically we had a national event prep facility, track, and everything that the drivers were welcomed with. And I think that right there alone was able to produce some of the best ETs and speeds that we've seen in a while at any regional event, let alone at an event that encompassed pretty much anything with 4 wheels that would go down a drag strip for the entire event.
Phenomenal. So everybody has seen the photos from Saturday, and some have even gone as far as there's more people there than the U.S. Nationals, which I have to, just like, whoa, just pump the brakes just a little bit. I mean, it's close, but spectacular crowd nonetheless. And I know that many of them are there for the personalities that are associated with Cletus and cars and the burnout. I'm sure there were hardcore drag racing fans there, but people were able to be exposed to the top alcohol dragster and top alcohol funny car ranks, which I think are cars and teams putting on some of the best show in drag racing, frankly. Personally, I got a soft spot for top alcohol funny car, revving as high as they do, dumping the clutch, sending it. So were you able to interact with people that were individuals that they had never seen top alcohol dragster, never seen top alcohol funny car? What was the response from people that were like, what is this?
Oh, it was phenomenal. Even dealing with Cletus, he had never been around the cars to this extent. He might have been around a few cars in some testing sessions or chance meetings with vehicles like that. But I had an opportunity Friday to take him around and introduce him to some of the teams and drivers. He was genuinely humble with the fact of what they do with these alcohol machines, whether it's an A-fuel dragster, a blown dragster, or the alcohol funny cars. So there was a lot of just introduction and just a lot of like head turning and just the wide eye look, which is what you want. A lot of folks don't look at it this way, but the top alcohol categories are the last of the Mohicans. They are the last of the quarter mile, the quickest and fastest quarter mile machines that we are currently racing. So when you start looking at the situation that it is, the spectators, the fans, the crews, everybody that was there was not anyone not smiling. How could you not smile seeing 20 plus alcohol cars for a regional event? We had 10 funny cars on hand. One of those was an injected nitro funny car on top of the blown dragsters, the A-fuel dragsters. We had a little mix of everything. You had Tom Bailey in a pro mod that was match racing against Cletus in the mullet. I mean, what could you not want about this event as far as checking all the boxes on the coolometer, to use an Alan Reinhardt line? I know I'll probably have to pay copyright on that one, but it was well worth it, meaning there was so many people that had their eyes open. I really hope it pays dividends for the U.S. Nationals coming up later this year, for folks to come back out and be exposed to that. It's kind of like a dopamine hit. That was one of the lines that we talked about in the office here post-event, was that the sensory overload of an alcohol car is one thing. You couple that with some nitromethane, and I don't know a single gearhead that's not hooked after that point to want to come back for more. I mean, just plain and simple. The reaction, the interaction, the crews that were just saying, this is probably the coolest event that I've ever been a part of. We need to do this again. I want to be back. What can I do? That was the theme, the mindset of everybody. And then the spectators that come out to be a part of it. Those folks that came out to the Cletus and Cars event that didn't have a clue that there was alcohol cars were completely blown away going, why have we not ever seen this kind of stuff before? So lightning in a bottle, as they say.
I know my brief interview in Victory Lane with Brian Howe, he expressed, hey, we need to bring this guy back every time. And they loved racing in front of that kind of crowd and that kind of atmosphere on Saturday in particular. Now, far as NHRA competition, still got some more questions on the show itself, but NHRA competition, I said this at the start of the show. I said this going into this event. When you looked at the sheet and who was there and who qualified, I feel like this regional at Lucas Oil in Indianapolis Raceway Park is going to be a regional that we can look back at and go, wow, the national championship may very well have even been determined in a moment like that. The competition was absolutely insane, especially top alcohol dragster.
Yeah, there's a guy named Tony Stewart. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He was here racing. He had the weekend off, thought he'd get the A-fuel car out, go have some fun. But for Tony Stewart to win his first ever regional event, and I was going to have some folks do some digging, but I think he's one of the only people that may have ever won a USAC sprint car race on the speedway, as well as win a Wally, whether regional or national event, over on the drag strip. So we'll have to dig into the history side of that thing, but phenomenal racing. The caliber of cars, we had 10 different states with competitors from them. All 4 of the regions within the country were represented. We had folks from Canada that came down to race, as far east as New York, California, on the West Coast. It was insane to see the folks that just kept rolling in. And the unique thing about the alcohol category is we actually hand park everybody, meaning, hey, they arrive, we find the spot for them, we get them positioned correctly, pretty much check them in and say, hey, what do you need? Here's what's going on. And we treat them with respect that they should have at all times. But certainly in an event like this with the unknown and then the level of competition we had, and then forcing them to only have 2 qualifying sessions, the stakes were pretty high. So you're spot on with the assumption that this very well could be deciding a national championship, the event that we just had this over the weekend with Brian Howell winning along with Tony Stewart. And it doesn't include the other points implications for folks that either did or did not claim the event, or whatever the case may be for how the backside of that works out. So yeah, to me, it was probably one of the best regional events I've been a part of in the number of years I've been with the NHRA. And I look forward to more of these. I think that level of competition, the gauntlet has been thrown down. And it goes back to your original question about, is there any pride that we take as far as being better than anyone else? I just want the categories to be the best they can be. I want the NHRA to be the best they can be. I want our interaction for everybody and the culture of what we are doing here to be the best it can be. That's what I truly enjoy about it.
All right. You are at the divisional directors end of the year meeting or beginning of the year meeting, whenever y'all meet. And you've got the playbook open. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we did it. This is how you do it. What are you telling them? Give me the bullet points to have something like this with a bigger brand be connected with the NHRA brand and create exposure, create entertainment, make some money, push everything forward.
Well, believe it or not, the one thing I say, chuck out the door is making the money. If you've got a good product, if you're treating your customers correctly, if your spectators, your competitors are all being handled the way they need to be for the event to be successful, the money will solve itself. So, at the end of the day, you look at the end goals. We want to have a race, a safe race, a successful race. So you work it backwards from there. And all those little things that you do to make the event successful, whether it's being on time, adhering to your schedule, communication. Use the example Sunday morning, the rain's coming through. Everyone's wondering what we're doing. I'm personally texting all the competitors saying, hey, here's where we're at. I'll give you more information as soon as I can to figure out what the best call is going to be. But as far as playbook wise, I just keep it simple. Don't overthink this. We send cars down the track. We race vehicles. We do it in a safe manner, and we want to promote the awesomeness of what it is. So the playbook itself can vary. There's a lot of different things as far as scheduling that you got to go against. There's dealing with other events that are going on. I don't think people realize, especially with their alcohol categories, there's so few to go, or so competitors, so few to go around, that we have to be aware of. There might be something out in Atco, New Jersey going on that could affect us here in Indiana, or something down in Dallas, Texas, that's going to affect the folks over in Gainesville. I mean, there's a lot of things. So the playbook is communication, and be very aware of what's going on around you and what your customers are up to and what your fellow divisions have as far as events. We try not to step on each other when at all possible. I know I've taken a little bit of grief over a rescheduling of a divisional event, but sometimes you make those moves and those calls, and that's what the playbook's sort of for. But at the end of the day, you have to make the best calls you can for the situation to ensure safe races and getting races completed.
I was also impressed in speaking with you briefly after the event. You're already thinking forward, how to improve what was already a stellar event. So share with us some of the ideas that you've got of improving upon what was already a great event. And, can we even get it worked out possibly in the future with Cletus that some of the very stars of our cars get in his cars and compete for the Freedom 800 and those type of things?
Yeah, there's a lot of things we could do. I think the biggest thing is find any of the weak areas that we had of this past event. And there were. It may look great on the surface, and that's the way you want it. But there's a lot of little things underneath that we can kind of clean up, we can polish up and make more efficient. That's what I want to focus on. You do not want to overthink something like this event. The following that Cletus has is just, I don't think people really fathom the amount of involvement, the amount of interaction, the consumer, however you want to approach that, or however you want to label those individuals, the customers that he has, the impressions that they get from that. What his product is something that people can relate to. Not saying that the top alcohol category isn't, but I think having an opportunity to work an event to where people are exposed to everything drag racing is about. and then everything that the speedway side of things is about. It's about a culture and a community getting together to enjoy something that we can all agree upon. I think I've mentioned this before in a couple of discussions I've had. The world can be crazy. It can be, as I like to use the line, a dumpster fire outside the gates. But by golly, you come inside at an event, you're going to hear someone singing the national anthem, which I don't know if you heard that on Friday or on Saturday, I should say. I believe it was Spencer that did that. But you're going to hear people with one universal way of speaking, and that's through motorsports. So as far as planning a future event, I'd be honored to have the opportunity to do this again. I'd be honored to see another set of categories, or another group of cars, I should say, running in conjunction with another series or another YouTube sensation situation. I think for us to survive in the motorsports industry right now, we need to think outside of the box. And if it's a crazy idea that's out of necessity, it's not so crazy if you come up with it. And I think having faith that we are going to survive and motorsports will have the longevity, that's what's going to be the catalyst to continue more successful events like this. To say that something's planned for next year already, I'm not even going to speak of that. But I am going to say we're going to have more successful events. Yeah, I am planning 24 and 25 out already. I won't lie. Those calendars are sitting on the desk actually behind me that you can't see. But there is stuff that's already being actively pursued. So I would say more of this will be down the road. What level, what collaborations you might see, who knows? But I guarantee it's worth paying attention to.
Yes, I like it. I like it. All right, let's transition. Divisional director, national event level, one's coming up. Like, what the heck do you do at those? Nothing?
Well,
I don't know.
It's the thing is that role has kind of changed and morphed into a little bit more of an opportunity to work with our competitors. Before we were, I don't want to say handcuffed and stuffed up in the race control and had to run the entire event. We've actually restructured some of the way things work now to give the division directors an opportunity to be involved and engaged with the competitors. And that means the most to them. That 5 to 10 minutes you can spend with that competitor in the lanes, or stopping by and addressing a situation, or as I like to do, as they're actually entering the facility, is welcome them to the race. That is one of the biggest things you can do in the division director role, in my opinion, at a national event. But the role itself, it pretty much covers anything and everything. I mean, you could be at your office at 10 o'clock at night doing a show like I am right now, or you could be here at 4 o'clock in the morning working on things to get ahead for the day coming up. So we pretty much do everything that you can imagine. We have a lot of interaction with our member tracks, 100 plus NHRA member tracks across the country. And it's not strange to get a text message on a Wednesday or Thursday night during a test and tune. Hey, I got a question. We're got a licensing situation. We've got something coming up. So we pretty much are like doctors on call with the motorsports or drag racing for the NHRA. So the role is going to cover a lot of things. We deal with sponsorship, equipment, personnel, staffing issues, technology. You name it, we deal with it. The only thing we don't deal with is right now is sometimes the TV side, but we even dabble into that with some of our live streaming with our NHRA.TV platform. So there is a lot of stuff that we do. It's never a dull moment. And if you don't like what's going on, wait a few minutes or a few days, it's going to change, because you'll have something else to work with that will say, hey, that wasn't so bad, or man, I really do enjoy this after all. So just it's having a very open mind and not being too painted in a box and saying, I will not do that. Your mindset has to be, what's the challenge and how we're going to overcome that, and how am I going to produce the best results possible while not overextending yourself, but also maintaining the level of professionalism that you can.
All right, last question, William. How in the world do you get to the point where you are a high-level NHRA official? What's the journey? What's the path?
Dumb luck's what I call it. I'm just a guy that gets to play with race cars and get paid for it. And I mean, I've got a circle of people that actually don't really know what I do. And they're like, well, what do you do for a living? I play with race cars. Okay, cool. But all joking aside, I started out working at a local track back in Ohio, Kilcare Raceway, when I was 16. I had to pay to actually get into work, which is a whole nother story in itself. But I put the time in. I was with the track for 20 plus years, went through a couple different owners, was finally given the opportunity to run the facility, went through a lot of different changes. Pretty much one day, even walked in and let everybody go in the company except for me and said, fix it. And said, I don't care how you do it, just fix it. And we turned around and had one of our best seasons to date at that time. Then things kind of changed. The business model changed, was going another direction. Had an opportunity to go to Commerce, Georgia, to run Atlanta Dragway, which is now no more. While I was there, had an opportunity to become a division director. I had actually shown interest years ago here in the North Central Division to become a director. And at the time, Jay Hollinger had mentioned, hey, you know what? There's a lot of boxes you need to check, go down the education route or just put in some time. I chose to put in the time and got very lucky and feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to sit here running one of the premier divisions within the NHRA. So for those folks that think that it's not possible to get here without taking the easy route, it's not going to happen. It's going to be a lot of, 24/7 type situations, a lot of hard work and perseverance and having faith in yourself, faith in the system, and not getting discouraged that maybe the direction you're going is not going to lead to where you think it is. It's going to lead you where you're supposed to be. So that's kind of the mindset that I've taken with this. To anyone else that thinks they want to get involved, by all means, there's a lot of opportunities with your local track. That's the best thing I would tell anyone. If you ever want to get to this level within the NHRA, one of the best things you can do for yourself is get involved with your local track. If you feel like you can make a difference, jump in there and do what you can to help, because we need the next generation of folks coming through. I hate to say it, but I'm in my mid 40s and I feel like I'm still 20 something, just getting started. So at the end of the day, we've got a great program with the NHRA launch website portal that leads to some of the basic jobs that are out there. But again, I started out as an announcer of all things, paying to get into work. I've worked the water box. My very first job with the NHRA was rolling parachutes at the U.S. Nationals, and I think it was 2002, 2003. So that gives you an idea how far I've gone back, and I've been in this sport since the early 90s as far as racing itself. So put the numbers together to get to this level, a lot of hard work, perseverance, and faith in yourself and trust in the process. And immerse yourself in everything you can. I made an attempt at racing at one point. That was probably one of the most costly things I've ever done. And the best thing I ever did was getting out of that, parking the car, and deciding to work for the local track and on a regular basis. So to get here, everyone's got that type of story. For someone that might be listening out there, first of all, thank you for listening, number one. But number two, if you think you even want to try to do something like this, don't sit there and think, act on that, because it might be the best decision you've ever made. I've been very fortunate to have some great experiences, meet a ton of people, and really look forward to what the future is going to hold now that I've got an opportunity at this point in this world of the NHRA, and certainly want to do all that I can with it.
Well, man, thank you for that brief insight into your path and your journey. And you echo what everybody says. You got to start at your local track. And I wish people would understand that. I have people ask me, like, how have I got to where I am now? And it started at Lancaster Dragway, east of Buffalo, New York. If it wasn't for their nostalgia nights and for, the Outlaw Superchargers and being able to go film and practice and just put some junk on YouTube and do that, I wouldn't be where I am today. You got to go to your local track and get it done there. It just has to happen.
Yeah, I get to come to work every day. I'm lucky that the division office is based here at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. I get to come to work every day when I'm in town at Indy. This place has held so many historical moments. And for me to say, hey, this is where I work and this is where I have the opportunity to be at every day, and then I was blessed with that opportunity. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm completely over the top, but I still get giddy about it. I've raced here a couple of times for the Summit AT Finals in my brief racing attempt at a career. And those were some of the best times, and the hard work and determination. So I understand and respect what our local grassroots racers at the NHRA member tracks go through. A lot of folks don't know that, because I think I've never actually won around here at Indy. But the point of that is that to be immersed in this world, the talent that we have within the NHRA right now is unbelievable. The things that are coming down the pipe, as far as our folks that we're aligning teams, we're getting departments outfitted, we're finally getting back and hitting our stride. Some of the stuff that we can't even discuss that I think we're going to see the benefits in the next couple of years. But it's an exciting time to be part of the NHRA. It's an exciting time for you as far as with your program. I've had the honor the second time of being on here, and it was kind of funny. It all revolves around the Chicago time frame, and something that I've just come off of an epic event. So maybe that's a really good sign. But going back on the whole thing, it doesn't matter. Like I said, whether it's 10:30 at night or 4 a.m, you got to smile. What's not to like about being part of drag racing and being lucky enough to call it my job? it's not a job. It's a way of life, and it's something I believe in every day to be a part of.
I concur. Well, Mr. Tharp, thank you for your time. Congratulations once again on a stellar event to you, the division, Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. Look forward to even more. Keep up the good work, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Take care. All right, folks, great insight into the event that just wrapped up there at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, and also Mr. William Tharp as division director there in the North Central Division, Division 3. Thank you all for watching the Competition Plus Power Hour. I do want to end the show with saying to my co-host, Slammin' Sam, thank you for your time. Thank you for your effort, and get right whatever you've got to get right. But thank you for 127 episodes, give or take, with this platform, and being on it and co-hosting it with you. We will continue, obviously, with the Competition Plus Power Hour with yours truly, Lee Craft, the Monday Morning Racer, and Darren Williams Jr. will definitely be stepping in as co-host for the future, the assistant editor for CompetitionPlus.com, American Hot Rod Entertainment. He will be joining me, and we do have plans in the future of definitely reworking, revamping, and attempting to make this show that much better for you and for drag racing. This has been the Competition Plus Power Hour. God bless, and keep the pedal to the metal.
Get your CompetitionPlus.com apparel today. Whether it's our nitro-burning funny car design or the vibrant door slammer design, we have the swag to show you are always in the know. Get yourself a hat too. And we know not everyone enjoys wearing a mask, but if you must wear one, at least wear a good-looking one. Check out the new CompetitionPlusApparel.com for the latest from the place where you have trusted for your news on the internet for over 2 decades.